everyone! This is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. And joining me as always is Tactica Imperialis.
Well, you say as always, I wasn't on the last episode, but yes, hello everyone.
Well, you couldn't help that, things happened, technical issues and all that, but hey, it happens. But you're here now, so that's the main thing.
I am indeed. I'm actually slightly annoyed that I ended up missing out on the last episode because I had all this stuff to say about the Dark Oath, the Hesperax novel looks really cool, the Emperor's Children and the discussion about what we're doing with Fulgrim. There's a bunch of stuff that I actually wish I got to talk about, so yay, technical difficulties.
Hooray. Oh well. At least you can talk about the stuff that's in today, but unfortunately today, there's not really much in the news this time round, funnily enough.
There's certainly nothing. There's nothing major. Like, there's a lot of bits, but there's nothing proper centralizing to anchor your news around. Though I think where I want to start, actually, is with something that we'll never get to talk about again, because it will only ever happen once, and that's White Dwarf 500.
Oh yeah, can you believe there has been 500 issues of White Dwarf? Amazing.
It's bonkers. So yeah, I don't really think about like White Dwarf in terms of, I haven't bought that many of them. I had it on subscription for a number of years until it went over to the Warhammer Visions model.
Oh god, I forgot about that.
Yeah. I then abandoned it for a while and then picked it up again on the semi-regular for a bit until I realised I was paying £8 a month for something I'd read for half an hour and then stopped. But still, 500 issues. Like, if you think about it, obviously there's one issue a month. That's 47
years.
47 times 12 is a lot more than 500.
But don't forget, there's also that Visions period. So
they were doing weekly White Dwarfs at that time. It was monthly Visions, weekly White Dwarfs. So actually, it's less.
Ah, fair enough.
But still,
it's 40-something years at least.
Yeah, it's 40-something. And what's really it does say 47 on here on the actual article. It does say. So 47.
I was right. I was right.
Oh, because it's counting Owl and Weasel.
Oh, fair enough.
But anyway, I guess I wanted to pick this up because there's an article on Warhammer Community about like your favourite battle report or issues from the past, and I guess I sort of wanted to open the floor of what was your first stroke favourite White Dwarf?
Okay, so my first ever White Dwarf was issue 207. It was the one that had the Viper jet bike on the cover. It was actually mainly focusing on the Viper and the attack bike for Space Marines, and it actually had a battle report in there focusing on that. Basically, like using a small Eldar force against a small Space Marine force, and it was like 2 Viper jet bikes, 5 regular jet bikes, and a Shrieker jet bike, and some Swooping Hawks, led by Baharov, except it wasn't Baharov, it was a regular Exarch being played by Baharov, because Baharov had a better model, against a small strike force of Space Marines, with defending the cardboard fire base. The cardboard terrain we had back in the day.
Jesus Christ.
In fact, the old 2nd edition cardboard terrain, like the fire base and the bunker and all that, they were pretty cool. I want to actually see those redone in plastic one day, because they just look so good. And I think if you actually redo them in plastic, they'll look great.
Yeah, I mean, they can do very good terrain these days, so I can't really knock it. But no, I was sort of getting into Warhammer at 5th edition, where I know the 4th edition rulebook had all the cutout bunkers and things like that. But 5th edition, they kind of got rid of it. So, yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember from around that time, I ordered a subscription and got a whole bunch of back issues with it as well, going all the way back to like issue 199.
Right.
And what I loved about White Dwarf back in those days is the sheer amount of shit you would get in those books. Like, not just like the content, but actually like physical, like, bits of like strategy cards or Space Hulk floor tiles or like a free model and stuff like that. Because like, do you remember? Well, you probably don't remember, but back when Mordheim first came out.
No, do not remember.
Yeah, back when Mordheim first came out, to celebrate that, they actually had a special character model given away with White Dwarf, and that was the only place you could get that character for like a good 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a high elf assassin. Funnily enough.
Oh, that wasn't a thing by the time I got into fantasy.
Yeah. But, I say high elf assassin. He had high elf armor, but his like character bios are like, oh, some people say he's like an exiled wood elf prince or a high elf assassin or like a dark elf, trying to disguise himself as something else. Blah blah blah.
I mean, I suppose you could probably make the argument of it's a shadow warrior because they sort of do fulfill that role within the high elf army. They're sort of stalkers, stealth, assassins, scouts, and also keep track on the dark elves and are a bit more nasty as a result. So it's probably just a shadow warrior.
But he was really cool.
Agree, sounds it.
Yeah. Also remember like when they did...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Karen.
I was going to say, what's your favourite? Oh my god, we cut each other off again. All right. Go.
Sorry, my favourite what, sorry?
Favourite issue that you can remember. Oh, you might just remember the number, but what issue do you remember and think that was a really good one?
My favourite issue. I'd probably say it was one of the latest second edition 40k ones. I think I can't remember the number of it.
That's fine.
But it was the one that had the last stand at Glazer's farm battle report, which was fun.
Wow, God.
Yeah, the original one. Basically, like they were using that battle report to test out the stat lines that would become the third edition Orc stat line. Because the second edition Orc stat line was completely different. Because you know how for a while like Orcs were like weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 2, something like that effect.
That's how they were in 5th. Yeah.
Yeah. In second edition, it was 3-3.
So they were just guardsmen.
Pretty much, they were guards. They were toughness 4 guardsmen, but with like 1 less initiative. They had the exact same stat line otherwise.
Wow, that's because when I picked them up, Orcs were weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 2, strength 3, toughness 4, 1 wound, initiative 2, 2 attacks, leadership 7, and a 6 up armor save for all boys. And it was 6 points a model, and I can remember that still.
But yeah, for this battle report, they changed the stat line a bit, and their argument in the editorial was like, for the purpose of this battle report, these are going to be feral orcs, which is why the increase in stat line, increase weapon skill and decrease the ballistic skill. But they end up just porting that stat line for third edition orcs, because I think it just suited them better.
Yeah, I mean, it makes them more unique as well.
Yeah, but finally, speaking of third edition, there was an event called the Secret War, which is basically like revolving around Cypher. And there was a battle report, basically depicting like Cypher and a bunch of Night Lords, with some Plague Marines mixed in for some reason, against an all Ravenwing army. Oh. And the thing is, there was actually a little editor's disclaimer with the Ravenwing army list, saying like, the more eagle-eyed among you will notice, this isn't actually a legal army. Because in order to have an all Ravenwing army, you had to have the Grandmaster of the Ravenwing special character, which didn't exist at that point. Like, didn't have a model. And they said, since the guy's already made his own Grandmaster on a bike, we said, fuck it, you can use that.
Yeah, because actually it would have been the next iteration of the Land Speeder had the Samael upgrade, and then he got his jet bike variant. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. When he had the Land Speeder, like Typhoon, I think it was. Or was it Tempest? Yeah,
that had the book on the front.
Yeah. The one that had a heavy boa and assault cannon on it, yeah.
Yeah, God, that takes you back. I remember when I was getting into 40k, one of the big things with Land Speeders was they introduced the Land Speeder Storm, the scout transport. So that tells you how far we've come. So yeah, crazy.
Very crazy indeed. And speaking of crazy, the Reader's Choice Awards for the Black Library.
Oh God,
book.
You are salty.
I am salty because, I'm sorry, Titanicus should not have won. Purely on the basis that book's already been reprinted like 3 times already, it does not need a 4th. Because it came out in 2008, it got reprinted in 2009, got reprinted again in 2011, got reprinted again in 2016. It does not need another bloody reprint.
Yeah, I mean, it was close, apparently, but still.
Still, yeah, it was a bit of a piss take, I feel. To be honest, I don't want to presume too much, but I feel like a lot of people voted it mainly on the basis that, Dan Abnett, I'll vote for that.
I think there's a bit of a fact that A, Titans are cool. B, Dan Abnett, and the other bits shown, like Soul Drinkers, Valhallans, Death Guard, Silver Skulls, are smaller factions. Like, unless you are a guard player, most people don't really know much about Valhallans. Soul Drinkers are pretty much a relic of the past now, as are the Silver Skulls. And the Death Watch is a sub-army so dog-water that no one even acknowledges their existence outside of MetaWatch articles. So compare that to literal god engines, it kind of skewed the balance. And that's no shade on the other factions. Like, I've read Death Watch. It's brilliant. Silver Skulls, I read the Gildar Rift, which is linked to this book. Brilliant. But
yeah, and I've read Portents, and Portents was a really good book, and that was the one I was hoping would win because it's such a good book and no one bloody talks about it. And I was hoping that maybe this would get some more eyes on it, kind of thing.
Yeah, which is...
I mean, to be honest, like, if Soul Drinker won, I would have been salty about that as well, because, like, you already just had your 20th anniversary, fuck off.
Well, why were they up for print in the first place, then? That's the...
I have no idea.
It's one of them. You can be salty at the fans for voting for it, but it shouldn't have been on the ballot paper to begin with.
No, I agree.
Or you could argue that anyway.
You could argue that. But yes, in terms of the fantasy book choice, it was Gracia that won. So you know what? Got no complaints about that.
I mean, it makes
Gracia
sense
Thanquol.
given that Skaven are getting a redo at the minute in AOS and Thanquol is still a thing. So it kind of makes sense that the people would be interested in Thanquol from an AOS standpoint as well as a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah. Though to be honest, I was kind of actually expecting Headtaker to win this one, but
I'd have liked it to. I mean, I've never read it, but I'd have liked it to.
Because I couldn't imagine Fall of Altdorf winning purely on the basis that it's like the second book in a series. Why the hell would you have the second book reprint and not the first? Kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's a bit pointless.
basically.
It's kind of like, well, there's no point because I ain't got the first one. Why would I get the second one?
Indeed.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But still, it's what it is. Admittedly, I was kind of reading back and getting nostalgic about my first White Dwarf whilst you were talking. I was actually researching what number it was because I got into it at 5th edition and was just like, oh God, is it that long ago now? July 2008. But anyway, moved on, so we'll move on.
Moving on, yes.
Yes, but last thing to say is that there is a new Grombrindar miniature that's going with White Dwarf 500. So just if you are interested, then that's a thing. And yeah, so
if you want to see pictures of that mini, go check out the last episode. I can't be bothered putting this one.
Oh, was it revealed that far ago back?
It was, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God, I opened the article thinking it was this last 2-week cycle. Whoops.
Yeah, we talked about that and all the previous iterations of Grombrindal, like the movie star version, the
astronaut
the little
version.
tiny space marine version. Yeah, the pirate.
The pirate. The one that really sticks out to me was always the astronaut version. It was basically a Votan before Votan was a thing.
Yeah.
But yes, indeed. Right. Where to next? Since we just talked about Skaven and magic and nonsense, how about we do a new mini? Because they redid the Warlock Engineer, as you would expect, and it looks cool.
Oh, was that one on the rifle?
Yes, with a Warplock musket.
You're going to hate me. We talked about that last episode as well.
Oh, God, I really should have watched that episode all the way through, shouldn't I? I really should have watched that all the way through. I know that makes me sound like an absolute monster that I didn't watch it back.
Yeah, you're fine.
Can we just cut this last 2 minutes of discussion out? Because this makes me look like a really bad person who doesn't watch my own show.
Is that a genuine request?
I don't even know. I can't tell if it's funny, embarrassing, or stupid, so whatever.
Fuck it, roll with it. It's going to be a short episode anyway. Let's roll with it.
Okay. Right. Well, even if you talked about it last time, I'll talk about the Tau Combat Patrol because, that's a thing that's cool. Admittedly, it's an odd take to go Breachers, Pathfinders, Devilfish, Commander, but it's a very Monkarish style and I'm here for it. And I think as a Tau player, I'd be very happy with that as my starting army because you can change that to a strike team, you can change that to Cold Star, your Pathfinders can be kitted out in multiple ways. I think it's pretty good. Admittedly, I do need to confess the fact that I have committed a cardinal sin as a Tau player, as something I said I would never do.
You bought an ethereal.
Well, no. More accurately, someone gave me the special. Well, I bought the special edition ethereal off of a subscriber, which was very kind to that person. Thank you very much for saying you would go and pick it up for me. I'm just waiting to paint it. No, I did something worse.
What?
I bought a Storm Surge.
Holy shit.
Granted, it's a converted one with arms.
Yeah.
But I'll send it. I've ordered it. It's not actually arrived yet, but it's one that someone's done 3D printed rocket arms. So you still got the cannon on the shoulder, but the actual rocket launchers are now arms. And they've already painted it to a really high standard. It's basically, I've got... oh, no, sorry. I stand corrected. The rifle is the gun, is the thing that's in the arms. I got that wrong way around. There's another one that I was looking at that had rocket arms. So I'll just send it to you. It's been semi-pro / pro painted, and it's really good. So it was less than £100 with the 3D printing and the painting already done. I cannot say I'm mad, and so I went for it. I bought a Storm Surge.
That does look quite nice, actually.
Yeah, by all means, just crop the top, crop the bottom, and put it on the screen, considering, it's publicly on sale, so I don't think that's an issue. The main reason I did it is twofold. One of the kids at Warhammer Club has bought a knight.
Right.
So I need something that can handle a knight.
Fair enough, yeah.
And two, the thing's been growing on me for a long time, ever since someone actually came up with the put the gun in its hands or give it rocket launchers in its hands conversions and the 3D prints. I've actually really been interested in doing something with a Storm Surge, because I knew I'd never be able to do it myself, but I did really like it when you actually did it. Like, when they changed the broadside from shoulder-mounted rocket launcher railguns to handheld rail rifle, I loved that change. I know not everybody did, because the classic broadsides are amazing, but when they did it, I loved it. So I've got two of them. And I feel like the Storm Surge has kind of gone down the same thing, where it started with the gun over its shoulder and it looked stupid because it had no arms. At least the broadside had the politeness to have arms back in the day. But then someone 3D printed it with the gun in its hand, and suddenly, oh my god, this is just a bigger, better, badder broadside. I'm actually kind of slightly down for this, and my opposition on principle, because it was ugly as fuck, kind of goes out the window.
It's amazing just how just one slight tweak in the design can change a whole model, essentially. Just one minor tweak.
Yeah, like, you think about some of the models down the years, where you think, that model was ugly, then they changed a thing. Now this model is gorgeous. And it isn't like they've completely redesigned it from the ground up. They've just moved something, or they've changed the layout. Like, I'm struggling to think of one off the top of my head that was quite as drastic as the Storm Surge, but I'm sure there's tanks, or it's probably a tank thing, where they start out ugly as hell, and then they just rejig the location of things and tidy it up a bit, and suddenly it's ubiquitously brilliant.
Funnily enough, one example that does come to mind were the old Space Marine Devastators. Because back in, like, 2nd edition, pretty much every single heavy weapon was shoulder-mounted. So, like, heavy bolter was being carried on the shoulder. Your las cannon on the shoulder. Plasma gun on the shoulder. And then in 3rd edition, they changed it so it's like, okay, so he's going to be holding it, like, at the hip, as if he's, like, carrying a massive machine gun type thing. And that one tweak in positioning made it look so much better.
Yeah, like, the missile launch... I've got Havoc's, so the missile launcher, the las cannon, to a lesser extent the plasma cannon being on the shoulder, is fine, but something like a heavy bolter, which is spray and pray, or an auto cannon, or a Reaper chain cannon, those are guns that are designed to be swept across an area of battlefield. It's much easier to do in your arms than it is on your shoulder. Admittedly, James Workshop really need to learn... I just said James Workshop, I'm ironically by accident, need to relearn that lesson, because they fucked it up again with the Desolation Squad, because, oh my god, they look so stupid. Can they fix them for the next round, please?
Yeah. I'm showing you a picture.
They look awful. They look awful.
You see what I mean? Just how the change in the weapon position just makes them look so much better.
Yeah, heavy bolters do not belong on the shoulder. They're too short.
No.
They're just too short.
Yeah. And to be honest, I prefer the idea of the las cannon being used as a giant anti-tank sniper rifle, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's what it is, and that's how it's always been represented. It's a sniper. So yeah.
Except in second edition, it's just like, no, on the shoulder.
True. But yeah, it's good stuff, and I'm glad they did that change. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who really sticks out as looked awful, got a redesign that wasn't, a ground up start again, looked good. I mean, the Rhino really glowed up when they stopped making it so bloody triangular, but that's personal preference, I think.
You mean basically when they stopped using the Rogue Trader kit?
Yeah, when they actually used a proper kit for the Rhino.
Yeah, because that kit was going up until, 4th edition?
Don't know. It definitely wasn't a thing by the time I got into the hobby.
Yeah, because I know it was still a thing in 3rd edition, the old Rogue Trader Rhino.
Yeah, but it was definitely introduced in 4th then, because it was a thing ubiquitously by 5th. They already had the Predator, the Razorback, and everything in place on the new chassis.
Yeah.
Yeah, comments. Let us know. Are there any other models that, with a small amount of tweak, received a monster glow up? I'm not saying they repose. It might be a repose. It might be moving a weapon. It might be changing the silhouette slightly. Can you think of a model that's had a glow up like that? You've got 2 examples from Rem and I. Are there any others you can think of? I know we're probably going to be setting you a bunch of homework because I'm sure White Dwarf nostalgia is also a thing. But yeah, plenty to discuss.
I'll tell you what I think is a bit of a glow down. The new Liberators. I hate the heads.
Prosecutors.
Or whatever they are. I hate them.
They're a glow sidewards. I
hate the heads. I think they would look so much better if they had a head that was more like a sealed helmet, like a more traditional Stormcast.
Well, I believe that isn't... I remember Kirioth, I think it was, tweeting about this, and I think there is an alternate build that does this.
Hopefully, but they've not shown it yet, so...
They've not shown it, but I think the reason I'm calling it a glow sideways is because, yeah, the helmets are a choice. Personally, think it was not the best choice, but it's certainly a choice. But
yeah, I don't think the Hoplite helmet really suits them.
I mean, the shape of the helmet's fine. They just need to change the faceplate, if you ask me. But
or add one.
Add one. But I think that the Thunderstrike armor really suits them, and the wings changing from the Sunburst to the Flameburst pattern look brilliant.
The wings are nice, I will give you that, but it's just the head just ruins it for me.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's, as I was saying, it's sideways. Some things are better, some things are worse. And so, yeah, it's not bad though. And I'm glad they've done it. Admittedly, now every time I flick through these models, I can't look anywhere but the head. Admittedly, the tactical rocks are not great. I really hope those tactical rocks have thicker joints than they look like they have, because, oh brother, prosecutors were annoying at the best of times because they had tiny rock on scrolls or on one foot, which was annoying. Now they've done that, but they've elevated it about half a model, a foot, like 3/4 of a model up into the air, which is going to make them even more awkward.
Agreed.
So
speaking of awkward though, the warehouse is closing for a while.
Yes, that we probably should have opened with that. PSA, the Games Workshop warehouse will be shut between May 27th and June the 3rd. This will not say that orders cannot be received in that time, but this will create a backlog. Now, the question is why?
If I had to guess, it's one of 2 things. Either they're moving to a new warehouse again, or they're doing a renovation.
Yeah, I mean, considering it's a week, it would take a lot longer than a week to completely decamp and move to a new set of warehouses. I know that the current set have been notoriously rubbish. I think it's fair to say. But
yeah, just a tad.
But I'm hoping it's option 2. I mean, there's the option 3 of they're going back to the old one, but I doubt that somehow.
Yeah, just a tad.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, if it improves the quality of shipping, I think people will take 2 to 3 weeks of pain and backlog in order to smooth things along down the line. Surely. I hope. I really, 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 really hope.
One can but hope.
One can but hope.
And speaking of hope is, source of power and magic, so endless spells, that's that for a shitty segue.
Yeah, endless spells have been completely reworked, and I actually quite like it. So, I know AOS 4, not everyone's going to be that interested in talking about AOS, but sorry, I'm back, run with me on this. Because they've actually given them proper stat lines that allow you to fight the endless spells now.
Well, so you can actually just punch it or something?
Yeah, because basically the problem with an endless spell was you summoned it, and then you had to dispel it. It couldn't die unless you dispelled it. And the caster, unless it turned on themselves, was never going to do that. Now, you can just punch them in the face.
I like that. I like the idea of just someone walking up to the purple son of Shaiish and just punching it.
Yeah, I mean...
I punch the sun!
Damn you, son. But what they've also done...
No, son! There we go, there's a TTS reference.
Indeed. They've also tidied up how they work, because the problem was, in the past, you paid points to buy an endless spell and add it to your army roster, and then any of your wizards could summon it. Now, they have created universal manifestation laws, because they've grouped them all from being endless spells to manifestations to cover for the fact that not all of them are spells these days, because some of them are prayers. What they're doing is essentially saying you can pick one as your army's manifestation law alongside your normal law of magic. So let's say your Lumineth, you've got the law of Hish, the law of light, whatever we're calling it nowadays, and you can pick one of the universal manifestation laws as well. So if you take the Forbidden Power one, you get the stuff from, well, Forbidden Power, the Shards of Valagar, Laucon's Soul Seeker, etc. Or you could take the Ether Wrought Machineries, which get you the metallic ones, the Ether Void Pendulum, the Chronomantic Cogs, the Quicksilver Swords, or the Twilight Sorceries Law, which gives you the Prismatic Palisade, the Geminids, and the Spell Portal. So that you can now only take a small section of endless spells, but you don't pay points to do so. You just pick a set of them that you're going to choose from, or you can pick your own army's ones if you so wish, such as, Battle Forges or the Wild Woods or whatever. Yeah, and actually they've sort of tied up faction terrain in the same logic. You can now knock them over. So that Ossiarch Bone Tithe Nexus that provides a huge amount of buffs, yeah, now you can just send your giant and kick it until it breaks, which you couldn't do in the past. You could not destroy terrain.
I do like it when they introduce things like terrain destruction mechanics. That's always a nice touch.
Yeah, they're only doing it really for faction terrain, but that's still important because that faction terrain provides huge amounts of benefits to the army. Like, the one that comes to mind top of my head is like the Khorne one allowed your priest to do all manner of nonsense. And the Sylvaneth Wildwoods that allow you to teleport around the place and do bullshit, or the Skaven burrow holes, whatever they were called, I can't remember their name now, that again allowed you to teleport around and do bullshit. So
Norhol, isn't it?
Norholes, that's it. I couldn't remember what they were called. But there are still ways to get more. So, for example, Sylvaneth really need their woods, so they can summon more. Or heal them up if they need to, which is kind of nice. So, I think that's a good way to take AOS. And here's a question, and I don't know what the right answer is would something like Endless Spells work in 40k? Like, could you imagine a scenario? I appreciate magic, psychic powers are slightly different. Could you imagine these ideas of what we're calling manifestations being summoned and then just roaming the battlefield? Because they don't do that anymore. Like, take, for example, you could have, when you do Gate to Infinity, allows you to teleport, right? Well, why not just create a warp rift that sits at a static position on the battlefield and acts as a source of mutation or demonic blessings or whatever? Or you could summon, for example, Sisters of Battle Priest could chant and summon a manifestation of a living saint. It doesn't work as powerfully as a living saint, but it can fly around the board, inspiring others and occasionally stabbing things with beams of brilliant light. Something that would work, or do we want to leave this to AOS and make sure they have something unique to themselves? I'm just throwing it out there.
I think it'll work better just staying in AOS, just to give AOS something, of its own, something unique. Because we already had, a time when 40k and fantasy were basically the same game with the exact same rules, the exact same stat lines, psychological effects, the way magic worked was exactly the same. Like, 4th and 5th edition fantasy was literally just same as 2nd edition 40k in terms of rules, pretty much.
True.
So it's like, we don't need to have the same game just like in two different, settings.
No, absolutely. And I mean, they do make them very mechanically different to one another in terms of, like, AOS has double turn, 40k has tanks and everything that goes like that. Although, admittedly, tanks just work like monsters, so does it really? I just thought I'd throw it out there and see what happened if I threw it into the void of, would that be an interesting thing to do? Like, I could imagine, like, it being a thing for Chaos armies to do. Or, like, even something like a manifestation of the Shadow in the Warp. Like, we know the Shadow in the Warp is a thing and it has this ongoing gameplay effect. But what if you could literally project the Shadow in the Warp and manifest it? Like, that seems really cool to me. But also I appreciate that it also completely ballses over Necron's Tau and others.
Something worth thinking about, though, at least anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something to think about. And I know when we talked about the War Scroll rejig and what effect that might have on 40k next time it comes around, but it is always worth bearing in mind that when you look at a new edition of 40k, you should be thinking about what effect that may have on Sigmar, and vice versa. Same as when you see something happen in Heresy, you should consider, well, okay, if they're going in this direction, is that going to have a knock-on effect somewhere else? Because all of these different games are tests for themselves and sets for their own rules, but they're also good testing beds for what mechanics are popular and efficient that could then be adapted and transferred to the other systems, because they want all the games to be better, even if they're not homogenous.
Agreed, yeah.
Right.
Not too much left in the news, really, is there, this week?
No, like I had a quick flick through the Croup detachment, and it looks cool, but I mean, it's not worth dedicating an entire article to. And oh my god, I've just realised how god awful the old Storm Surge actually looks, because there's a picture of it here. And oh my god, I'm so glad. And just going back to what we were talking about earlier, how my god, how did they design it so badly the first time? There is some new DLC for Total War Warhammer 3. For those who are still playing that game, Tamerkan is back. As is Elspeth von Draken, and Malachi Makaisen with a Thunder Barge.
Wasn't Makaisen one of the characters from the Gotrek novels?
Yes.
Okay, so I know him, I know Tamerkan, I don't know who the other one is, though.
So, Elspeth von Draken... Sorry, excuse me, bad timing. Elspeth von Draken is an amethyst wizard working for Nuln, so fights alongside the Empire. Oh god, excuse me. Yes, also Epidemius is going to be coming in as well. And Balthazar Gelt is back with, well, gold wizards are coming in to allow you to do more with Balthazar Gelt in Cathay.
Cue the memes. You all know the Balthazar Gelt memes. Welcome to Estalia and all that.
Well, in this case, welcome to Cathay. So, for those who are not so initiated, what is there about Malachi Makaisen that's so interesting? Like, I know he's Gotrek and Felix, but the guy's walking around on a land ship, or he has a land ship, and also has brought the Goblin Hewer, and he has a gun. It's a Slayer with a gun.
He's not the only Slayer to ever have a gun, though, because, let's be honest, we all know that the best Slayer character, other than Gotrek, was Long Drong Slayer. Literally, he was a dwarf pirate.
Right.
And he had a whole brace of pistols. And funny enough, he had a special rule. his opponents were -1 to hit him because he smelled so bad. Because he couldn't stop farting.
God almighty.
It was like, and they say Warhammer was serious. And this was like 5th edition fantasy, by the way.
Yeah, it's not that.
He was in He was in the Dogs of War army list.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Long Drong Slayer and his Slayer pirates.
Dear, oh dear.
But yeah, the funny thing is they had a special rule because they all carried a brace of pistols. They didn't have to spend a turn reloading if they shot in a shooting phase.
Because they had a spare one.
Yeah, they had a brace, so basically they could shoot every turn.
I mean, I can't imagine a world where you wouldn't be able to shoot every turn and have to spend a turn reloading. That.
Well, remember these were flintlock pistols.
Yeah, but the Empire walks around with flintlock pistols all the time, and I've never lived in a world where they had to be reloaded every turn.
Yeah, you never played 5th edition fantasy, did you?
No, I got in the 7th and 8th.
Yeah, there you go then. There's a reason if you played Empire, you took people with the repeating pistols, because you could use them every turn then.
That makes sense.
Fun fact, in regards to like 4th and 5th edition fantasy, there was no if you played dwarves, there was no reason to take regular dwarf warriors. What you always did, if you were smart, you always take dwarf crossbowmen because
Warriors.
They were just called crossbowmen back in the day, but yeah, because one of their equipment options was you could give them double-handed weapons. So because their initiative was so low anyway, so that means they're always going to be charged, they're always going to be hitting last anyway. Give them double-handed weapons, they're going to strike last, but they got +2 strength now.
I mean, quarrelers with great weapons was still a thing all the way up to the end of fantasy. That was still a thing.
But it just made like regular dwarf warriors redundant. It's like, okay, but these guys can shoot you and they hit harder in close combat. So
I mean,
what's the point of taking a regular dwarf warrior?
Shields, I guess, is your only answer.
But a toughness force, they can withstand most things anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. What's coming out this week? It's Chaos. Oh, it's Chaos Space Marine week. At last. Had we seen the cover, the limited edition cover of the Chaos Space Marine Codex prior to today? Because this looks...
I don't think so.
We're recording this on the Sunday, and just look at that cool cover.
It does look really good.
So,
Funny enough, it reminds me a little bit of Sevastus Crallon a little bit. I know it's not him, but it reminds me a little of him.
Yeah, Sevastus didn't have an axe, he only had the sword. But I do know what you're saying. I see your point. I think it's supposed to be the Chaos Lord from the actual cover, the normal cover. If you look at the two side by side, they've both got a sword, they've both got an axe, but the one on the normal cover is far more warp twisted, and this is him before he went completely off the deep end. Maybe.
But yeah, next week, Chaos Space Marine Codex goes on pre-order, as well as a whole bunch of made-to-order Tau.
Oh, does it? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Right, Alvar don't care, Aunt She don't care, Long Strike removed from the game. The Farsight Enclave shoulder pads, I've already got one of those. The Tywall gun rig. Right, that is the only one I don't have. Because I have a Tywall drone port, I have a Tywall shield line. I do not have a gun rig. But then again, I don't probably play enough infantry to do it because I'd probably play Fisher Fury alongside a few units of Tidewall. Oh, Ghazghkull and Badrock!
Yep.
Oh god, I hated the Ghazghkull mini. It's an amazing mini, but it was metal and it's so dog shit to build because it doesn't stick together at all.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Trust me. Oh, go on.
You have not known the pain of having to stick together a metal bloodthirster with those massive, heavy metal wings with the tiniest little connecting port. Like it just doesn't even slide in. Nothing like slots in. You have to just basically balance it on and basically pin it in place if you wanted it to remain steady. If you don't have any pins or whatever, or you don't have a drill, you are fucked.
Yeah, I mean, my worst experience with metal minis was the shock attack gun. Like, it was absolutely the shock attack gun. That was awful, and I never got it built. At least Ghazghkull, I did manage to build it. Admittedly, I then ended up completely cannibalizing it for parts because I converted my boss Snickrot into a Blood Axe war boss using his pistol and one of Mork's teeth. I gave his other arm to my third Black Reach war boss. Yes, I had 3. And I had planned to keep his head for use when I eventually bought a Dackerjet. Unfortunately, because I wanted it to be like the Dackerjet pilot's head. I unfortunately then lost it, meaning that I did not get to do that when I finally bought my Dackerjet, and I'm sad about that. But yeah, I think somewhere in my collection somewhere is just legs. Yeah, it's just the legs and the torso, because everything else has been cannibalized for parts.
Oh.
And also Captain Badrock, I know it's a shame he's not a thing anymore, but Captain Badrock is also cool.
The only funny thing is, I always preferred his original mini from second edition. I know it wasn't technically him, but it pretty much was him. With his big chomping cigar and all that.
Yeah.
He's so derpy.
If you just made the power claw a bit longer and changed the proportions, then it actually works fine. If anything, I think that, I know it's by design because he's supposed to be, but the 5th edition Badrock is a little over-designed, but it doesn't matter because it's Captain Badrock, that's fine. But I mean, that still serves a good baseline for a freebooter war boss, which Badrock never could.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, why have they never done a proper dedicated freebooter upgrade sprue for orcs? Like, I know we've got flash kits, but that would be... I know that orcs generally are similar across clans, but freebooters are so unique. Wouldn't it have been cool, instead of doing like a commando kill team, to do a freebooter kill team, where you can get boys and knobs on an upgrade sprue to have loads of
pirate hats.
Yeah, loads of pirate freebooter kit. How cool would that kill team be?
That would be really cool. Give him some like chin squigs and all that as well. Get nice big beards.
Yeah.
Little parrot squig, you know?
Yeah.
It has legs. It has legs.
Yeah, make it happen, G-Dubs. Make it happen.
Make it happen.
But yeah, freebooters are cool. I'm trying to think. Is there anyone else who hasn't had a kill team yet now? Are there any factions that have not had a kill team? Like Custodes, obviously, because they're too powerful. But I'm trying to think if there's anyone else who's not had a kill team yet.
Drukhari have Mandrakes, Chaos Spacemarines got Night Lords, Orcs got Commandos.
Marines got a Reaver team. Tau got the Pathfinder upgrade. Sisters got Novitiates. Guardsmen got 2. There's the Navy Breachers. There's the Kroot thing. There's the Traitor Guard.
Beastmen.
Votan.
Harlequins?
Yeah, we've had the Corsairs, but we've not had a dedicated Harlequin thing.
I think Harlequins could work in the kill team.
Yeah, I mean, just more Harlequin minis is no bad thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if Harlequins go the way of the Dodo in the next Eldari Codex and just get squatted out.
They've announced Genestealer Cultists.
Yes, they have done that. Tyranids, I know they haven't, but then I think Tyranid kill teams don't make sense in the same way that other factions do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Fun fact, and you can actually play Nids in the old Shadow War Armageddon game. Like, you can actually have, like, a Nid warband.
Oh, Necrons.
Oh, they not have one?
I don't think so. Hang on. Kill team.
Because what you could do with Necrons, you could have, like, death marks and maybe a couple of flayed ones.
Oh, no, I'm talking rubbish.
I have one.
The Hyrotech circle with the cool Cryptek.
Oh, yeah, of course. Admech, have they had one? Yeah, of course they have had one. They were one of the first kill teams.
Yeah, I think they were.
The Dumb Rogue Trader.
Yeah, they did the Gellerpox alongside it.
Yeah, the Dark Inquisition.
Demons, but hard to do because demons are just manifestations, so doesn't really work.
They've done Lost and the Damned. You know, Traitor Guard. They've done them.
Yeah.
So they used a bunch of the old Blackstone models, didn't they?
No, they were brand new. The Traitor Guard.
No, at least one of them was from Blackstone. I think it was like the Ogrin that was included. That was from Blackstone.
Oh, maybe the Enforcer I think was, but the actual Guardsmen were all new.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's everyone then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless you want to be stupid and include Knights.
Yeah.
A Knights kill team. Actually, you could probably get away with it if it's just like 3 Armigers or something.
I mean, to be fair, the Necron kill team is literally 5 flayed ones and a Cryptek. So I would not say no to doing it again and making it better. Because could you imagine like a tomb ship where you've got like the Royal Guard with all their ornatery or the different texts and actually including like scarabs and spiders that are constantly scuttling around the place. I feel like that could be a really cool one to do for Kill Team. Because
Yeah.
the analog to Kill Team is Warcry, and Warcry consistently makes the best minis in the Age of Sigmar range. And that's not an overstatement. Like, I remember when we were talking about all the ones getting retired with Wib, like, Warcry's minis are some of the best in the entire range, and Kill Team just does not hit the same height.
Oh, idea. Rebel Grots.
Yeah, speaking of Wib, yeah, Rebel Grots.
Rebel Grots could be a very fun kill team.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Are they done Kassakin or Stormtroopers?
They did Kassakin.
They did Kassakin.
They did Kassakin as a kit. I don't think they've done them as a kill team, but they did the Kriegers and the Breachers, so I think Guard are quite satisfied when it comes to...
Well, Breachers technically aren't Guard. They're a separate organisation.
They're Imperial. Yeah, all right. But I think what Kill Team's been really good for is either updating an old kit that really needed it with an upgrade sprue, like the Pathfinders, or doing really niche kits like Novitiates or Traitor Guard or Navy Breachers. So, or even Corsairs being another example. In fact, yeah, the Dark Elder have had 2 kill teams now I think about it, because they had the normal one as well as the Mandrake one. But anyway.
And they had witches?
No, they haven't. Like a gladiatorial kill team could be hilarious with Beastmasters and witches and everything together.
What you could do, have like witches against Catachan jungle fighters.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, updating the
That could be
Catachan
fun.
range could be really good. That needs an update, does the Catachan stuff.
Oh god, yeah, they're still using 3rd edition kits. Early 3rd edition kits, mind.
Yeah, or even, what about a Steel Legion versus Orc Scrappers kind of on Armageddon type thing?
That could also be good.
Or you could do, I'm trying to think.
You could probably, have they done Grey Knights?
No, they seem to have forgotten Grey Knights exist.
Because you could probably get away with like Grey Knights against Chaos Cultists or something.
Yeah, what about like maybe doing like, this is how you introduce like Grey Knight Scouts. Like, you can't have like full on psychic power wielding force weapons everywhere Grey Knights, but you could have a squad of initiates supervised by, say, a senior battle brother, kind of like Black Templar Sword Brethren type, and initiate novitiate kind of thing going on, where they've been sent to secure a relic from a minor enemy just to make sure their psychic powers are under control. They're able to resist the base influence of the warp in such a way, in almost a controlled environment, and do Grey Knight Scouts that way. I know that changes lore on how Grey Knights operate, but, well, Games Workshop is quite happy with ripping up established lore, so... I've
got it. Grey Knights versus Inari. That's how for their story, because remember the Grey Knights are hunting the Inari, aren't they? And with Inari, you can have a nice mix of like Craftworld, Drukari, Harlequin all mixed in. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be brilliant. Actually, I like that a lot. What about
that would work? Yeah. Okay.
Thousand Sons and Death Guard? They haven't had anything, I don't think.
No, that's not. I don't think they have. No.
And World Eaters are just too recent, so I'm not surprised they haven't. But
Red Corsairs.
I mean, yeah, obviously, because that's a really good... Basically, we just like pirates, don't we? We just like pirates. Like Eldar...
There you go, Red Corsairs versus Freebooters. There you go, this next skill team box set.
That would be really good. That would be really good. Yeah, we've had the Admex Guitari one.
Unless you want to go full on Legio Cybernetica. A whole bunch of robots.
I mean, baby robots. Like a bunch of cyber hounds and their handlers and little...
Maybe a Castellan.
Or
a Castellan.
Or, yeah, one Castellan and a data smith, and then a bunch of lesser explorator bots and servitors. I mean, how long has it been since we got a new servitor kit?
Good point.
That would be a really nice way to update the servitor kit. And you could throw a Jakera in there as well.
Monkey.
A
monkey.
Yeah, this is basically why Kill Team and Warcry exist. Like, Warcry is for Games Workshop's designers to go batshit crazy and do whatever they want, because it's Age of Sigmar, you can do whatever you want. Kill Team is a place where Games Workshop's 40k designers go, this is really niche. I want to do this. Let's do it. And I thoroughly love it as a result. And it's why I always look forward to a new kill team because it's like, I know I'm going to see something really unique here. Even if it's only a couple of minis that are new or an upgrade sprue, I'm going to see something unique.
Absolutely. Right. I think that's pretty much it for all the major bits in the news. There are some other minor things like...
There's a couple of tournament announcements and the rules of how to qualify for the world champs, but that isn't our program. Who cares?
No. And also you can download free rules for Dark Oath and Age of Sigmar if you're so inclined.
Yeah, I mean, Slaves to Darkness players should be so inclined, but yeah, I've actually noticed in my Facebook buy and sell groups, there's a lot of Kroot on sale and there's a lot of Dark Oath on sale. The people have bought the minis and then looked at the rules and gone, shit. So I don't know if it's any good.
Yeah, early reports aren't looking good. So if I say like Dark Oath, more like wank.
That's not even a pun.
I know.
Mind you, AOS is about to get a
funny.
new set of rules, so maybe they're designed to work better in tandem with the new rules. These are just literally tied over rules for 3 months. So who cares?
Indeed.
Right. I'm hoping you read something, because in all my technical difficulties, I have not had chance to read any more of Flesh and Steel.
I did. It wasn't too long. It's only a novella, but it's a really good one. So good, in fact, I finished it all in a single sitting.
Wow, so what was it then?
Chains of Golgotha, the Yarrick novella.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
There will be no spoiler warning because that book is super fucking old now. In fact, when did it come out? Let me double check. Chains of Golgotha, that came out back in 2013.
Yeah, it's over 10 years old.
Over a decade, yeah. Suffice to say, though, I will say this from the get-go, it's really fucking good, and you can get on Black Library for, like, literally a $5. So.
Nice.
Yeah. So, we start off on Golgotha. Like you do, funnily enough. I know,
Obviously.
Shocking given the title of the book, yeah. Atmospheric conditions on Golgotha are absolutely shit. It's interfering with communications, so unfortunately, Yarrick isn't in the Fortress of Arrogance. He's basically stuck in a little tiny command chimera, stuck in the middle of the forces because he needs to be situated there so he can broadcast his orders to the rest of the army. You know, it sucks, but what are you going to do?
Yep.
The orcs are falling back. They're falling back, and Yarrick's like, I've got you now, Thraka. I'm going to kick your ass.
No, you don't.
How's our rear guard How's our rear guard going, rather? Now, the rear guard, a big tank column under the command of a very young, very arrogant, noble military officer called Colonel Roger. I'm calling him Colonel Roger because his name's spelled R-O-G-G-E, but I'm just going to call him Roger. It's easier.
Yeah.
And plus it makes him sound like more of a pompous twat.
Yes.
Spoiler, he is one. The rear guard are very late, trying to catch up with the rest of the Yarrick's forces. And Roger's like, that tank's blocking away. Just blow it up. Get the fuck out of the way. Just blow up that tank. He's like, it's just got a faulty tread. It'll be done in 5 minutes. And like, no, blow it up. Get out of the fucking way. Boom. Blow up the tank. Right, there we go. So the tank column's moving upwards towards where Yarrick's position is. And they encounter a valley or a canyon. Order a full stop. Auspex, can you scan for any nearby orcs? Just make sure we're not walking into an ambush.
Logical.
Yeah, can do that. No sign of any orcs, but... let's go. Let's go through, it's fine. Orcs won't stay quiet, that's not how orcs work.
They are when they're Ghazghkull orcs.
Yeah, so Roger's forces are moving into the canyon. It's like, we'll be up with Yarrick in time for tea and all that, lads. What's that? We're being attacked by orcs. What's that? They got battle fortresses. What's that? They got stompers. Oh, fuck.
How did I appreciate that, atmospheric conditions fucking up with communications, but how did you miss a stomper?
It was hiding at the top of the valley, and it just ran down. It was like, wee!
No, but how did the Auspex miss a stomper? Did it not, scan the entire side of the valley and just fire down the floor level and check the floor? Did it not actually check round the outside to make sure they weren't being sniped from above by a giant pile of rocket launchers?
If I had to guess, I assume that someone said, right, turn that off. So it doesn't pick up any register. It just registers like a big mountain or something.
Maybe. I mean, he was told but and ignored it, but still.
Yeah. So, sounds a bit weird. It's fine. Roger's rear guard is attacked by the orcs, and as soon as that happens, the orcs that Yarrick's forces are facing launch a counterattack. And Yarrick's hearing reports like, "Sir, the orcs sound like they're laughing." It's like, god damn it. I underestimated the orcs. I had to go to Imperial Command for doing the same thing now. I've done the exact same thing. Fuck. Right, lads. Yeah. Fuck it. Retreat. Fall back. Fall back. No fire retreat, just fall back. We don't want to get bunched in like this. What's that? Stomper? Another one? Fuck. Yeah, Stomper's coming in and wrecking shit.
Well, it will.
And, yeah. But as that's happening, Yarrick's command chimera is being assaulted by the orcs. Yarrick's in the turret. He's like, right, let's get the turret going. He's shooting everything in sight. A big orc war boss is climbing on top of the chimera. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yarrick literally climbs out of the turret, like climbs out the cupola, and just soars up to the orc saying, "Excuse me, don't you know who the fuck I am?" Like, he literally says, "Do you know who I am?" And the orc's like, oh, fuck.
It's all one eye.
Yeah.
Run.
Yeah, and Yarrick says, like, "I can literally kill orcs with a glance. Watch." And, like, shoots the bear eye, blows up the orc's head. And all the nearby orcs are like, "Oh, heck, fuck this. Yarrick, run."
Yeah, when you want to characterize Yarrick, making him a not that silent, arrogant little shit who can do that is... like, that's Hamilcar Bear Eater levels of cocky, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. Now, Yarrick's ordering for the forces to pull back. He notices the Stompers approaching, and he looks around, and he sees that a Basilisk battery is trying to load up weapons, try and take out the Stomper, but they're being attacked by the orcs. So Yarrick says, fall back to the Basilisks and cover them, make sure they can shoot the Stomper.
Makes sense.
And they shoot the Stomper, and they blow it up. Hooray! Right, let's go and try and meet up with Roger's forces, try and pull their fire out the bacon. Or their bacon out the fire. I can't make an analogy today, what the fuck. Yeah, so they're running away, they're driving their way through the valley, and as they do so, a massive battle fortress literally, like, ramps up the crest of a hill, like, top speed, goes so fast that it goes, like, several feet into the air for, like, several meters, and Yarrick's looking at it to say, like, okay, there's no way something that big should be able to move that fucking fast.
Red ones go faster.
It's not just that, they apparently attach a spaceship engine to it.
Well, that makes more sense.
It's like, yeah, I wouldn't put it past the orcs to attach a spaceship engine to a tank, just to make it go faster. But yeah, the Battle Fortress turret looks at Yarrick and says, "Surprise, motherfucker," blows up the Chimera. Yarrick's thrown from it, knocked onto the ground. It's like, ow, that fucking hurt. Oh, the Battle Fortress is still looking for targets. It's not looking at me. Thank God for that, I'm too small. Then it blows up. Fortress of Arrogance turns up. It's like, don't worry, lads, we're here. Right, I'm climbing into my Baneblade now. Let's make things interesting, shall we?
This is still... I know this doesn't end well because I know how Golgotha goes, so this will be interesting.
Yeah. So, Imperial forces are doing well, pushing the orcs back briefly, like they're just running over the orcs, just smushing them into paste. And then a Gargant is approaching. It's like, oh fuck. That's a Gargant.
Even a Baneblade's going to struggle with that one.
Thankfully, however, the Gargant is badly damaged from a fight with a bunch of Imperial Titans. It's like it's smoking, it's got a huge like fault seam going down the front of its armor, it's basically in a really bad shape. So Yarrick says, right, aim the main cannon of the Baneblade, armor-piercing shell, fire. Single shot, hits the head of the Gargant just below the neck, head just falls off, and the Gargant tips forward because of the gravity momentum, and all the orcs start panicking. It's like, oh shit, Garrett just took out a Gargant with a single shot.
Yeah, I mean, I know how venerated Gargants are. They are literal god machines to the orcs. So if one of them goes down, especially in one shot, that's a problem.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Yarrick's starting to get reports on the radio from another commander called Colonel Helm. It's like, sir, it's urgent. What is it? Orbital bombardment. Right, where are we targeting? It's not us. What do you mean? The orcs are preparing orbital bombardments. From
With
what? They had, like, a Space Hulk. And Yarrick's like, wait, Ghazghkull had a second Space Hulk? It's like,
where was he hiding that?
Behind the planet.
Jesus Christ, how bad are your all-spec scans that you don't check the far side of the planet, you dinguses?
Let's put it this way. His Baneblade is called the Fortress of Arrogance.
I mean, yeah, but
There you go.
like, how incompetent are your Navy officers that even if Yarrick says, give me a quick scan, check there's nothing in the way, that you don't do your due diligence and check round the fucking back? We're not Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars Episode 2 here, where we don't check behind every asteroid. It's a giant fuck-off planet, and you missed a space Hulk. Those things are literal baby planets in themselves. How do you miss that?
The answer is simple. This is the Imperium underestimating the Orcs like they always do.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because as far as the majority of the Imperium is concerned, Orcs are dumb brutes that just smack things with a stick. They're not smart enough for plans. Their plans consist of charge, and that's it.
But Yarrick should know better.
Yarrick should know better, and he does kick himself to like, damn it, I keep underestimating Ghazghkull. God damn it, when am I gonna learn? But anyway, they're pulling back, and Yarrick gives the order, right, we can't withstand orbital bombardment from a Space Hulk. All forces evacuate. Get off world. Well, sir, the men aren't going to leave you. Okay, well, I'm humbled, I'm honoured, and I'm also very pissed off with you for disobeying a direct order.
Ha! Remember, I am still a commissar. I can shoot you.
Yes. Yarrick says, right, how many transports have gone off the planet already? 3? Okay, just say I'm on one of them. Okay. So, Yarrick basically gives a speech to all the men nearby saying, like, right, none of us are going to survive this. Let's give them a hell, lads. Way! So they charge towards the Orcs. Another Stomper. It's like, how many Stompers do these fucking Orcs have? A lot.
I mean, that's 3.
Yeah.
But Golgotha is a forge world, isn't it? Or a mining world, so they have got the raw resources to do it.
Yeah. So the Baneblade, the Fortress of Arrogance, rams into the Stomper at top speed.
As you do.
The impact ends up throwing Yarrick from the parapet, where he stands on. He's thrown out and hits the ground hard. And then the Baneblade, from the impact, only the driver survived, but the driver has control over the main battle cannon. It's like, right, point blank range with a battle cannon, fuck it, boom, blows up the Baneblade, blows up the Stomper, cooks off all the ammunition, big explosion.
And somehow Yarrick survives this.
Again, he was thrown from the parapet beforehand.
Yes, but he's still within about 20 feet.
It's a bit more than that. It's more about 100 metres away. He's thrown very far.
Being thrown 100 metres in a crash, you're dying from that. You don't care if
it's Yarrick.
I know it's Yarrick, but also Jesus Christ.
But yeah, Yarrick is obviously wounded. He's stunned. He's groggy. And he's like, oh god, I feel like shit. Oh, our Space Marine's turned up because that's a Space Marine dreadnought over there. No, it's not. It's bigger. Oh, fuck. That's Ghazghkull. And he pushes himself to his feet, and Yarrick just says right, that's it, I'm gonna kick his fucking head in. Thraka! He just shouts at him, and Ghazghkull just stops what he was doing, just turns, and is like, you! Oh, this is gonna be fun, lads, come on! Ghazghkull just stomps up to him, punches Yarrick in the face, knocks him out.
Well, yeah, it's Ghazghkull.
Yeah. Yarrick is unconscious. And he's been taken prisoner, as well as pretty much all the other surviving guardsmen on the planet at this point. They've all been taken prisoner.
Yeah, now, if I recall, and I will let you finish, there is a novel that follows this up called Gunheads, right? Which is by Steve Parker, which is about the rescue of Yarrick. Have I got that right?
I've not read Gunheads.
I think there's a book. I'll Google it while you talk.
But yeah. Yarrick wakes up. His bionic eye has been removed. His power claw has been removed. And his stormbolt has been removed. And he's hanging in chains, suspended over a massive pit. Like a bottomless, I say bottomless, but a pit so deep you can't see the bottom of it. Okay? And he's waking up, and the orcs guarding him, they see him as oh heck, he's awake. Go get the boss.
Because everyone is still shit scared of him.
They're all still shit scared of him. One leaves the room, a few moments later, Ghazghkull enters and just saunters up to him, and just stares at him, just quiet for a few moments, and then Yarrick just basically goes you're a piece of shit, the Emperor's going to take you for this, and all that. And Yarrick, in turn, is God, why did I have to break the silence? Why couldn't I restrain myself? God, he's embarrassed for himself, basically breaking the silence before Ghazghkull. And Ghazghkull's not reacting, he's just staring at him, like studying him. And Yarrick realizes, like, this is possibly the most terrifying thing in all of existence. An orc intelligent enough to study its opponent.
Yeah, an orc that can think is terrifying.
An orc that can think, that can plan, that can meditate. Exact word, meditate. It's like, I now got this mental image of, like, Ghazghkull, like, doing this burst om thing, in the lotus position. Oh, he's meditating, lads.
I'm assuming Ghazghkull's... hang on, I'm going to say something really stupid here, so please do bear with me. I know modern Ghazghkull was rebuilt from the ground up and is now a super orc, etc. Can modern Ghazghkull leave his armor?
I don't think so.
Because I feel like this Ghazghkull can, but has never been seen to do so. Because he just had brain surgery and wears mega armor. Whereas modern Ghazghkull is a super orc hybrid, and I believe maybe stitched into the... Well, not stitched, but stuck.
Hammered into place.
Yeah, stuck in the armor, kind of like Gilliman is.
If I recall correctly from the Ghazghkull, I think he is a part of his armor, essentially, now.
Yeah, but in this scene, if Ghazghkull's meditating, is he in his armor?
He's in his armor.
Okay.
He's got his power claw and everything, yeah.
Because I'm just thinking, like, if you're going to get an orc into the lotus position, at least have the dignity to take the armor off first.
But yeah, Ghazghkull then smiles at Yarrick and just takes a step back, and one of the orc guards takes this as a sign, like, oh, that means I can beat the shit out of Yarrick now.
No.
He goes and tries to smack Yarrick with his weapon, and Ghazghkull just grabs the orc in his claw. It's like, no, you fucking don't, and just drops him into the pit below Yarrick, just staring at Yarrick while he does so, as if to say, like, this is what's going to happen to you, mate.
As well as saying to the other orcs, this one's mine, and none of you will dare interfere.
Pretty much, yeah. So then Ghazghkull, just staring at Yarrick still, just reaches up and snips the chain with his claw, and Yarrick plummets down into the darkness below.
And again, Yarrick survives this.
He does, because at the bottom, shit ton of water. It's basically like a sewer system. Splash. He ends up, like, dragging himself onto the shoreline. He thinks it's a shoreline, but it's like detritus and bones and all that. He sees the orc that was dropped down below him. It's been impaled through the neck on a jutting spike of rock. Because this is the actual bowels of the Space Hulk now, the actual original asteroid that basically, served as the core.
Right.
And he's looking around, and it's like, right, this is shit. How the fuck am I going to get out? What's that noise? He hears a skittering in the distance, steadily getting closer. It's like, don't like the sound of that. Has this orc got a gun? No. But he's got a chopper. Well, I'm going to use this big meat cleaver thing, okay. Just so I've got a weapon of sorts.
Yep.
And he's attacked by a squig that's basically a giant centipede.
Center squig? Nice.
A center squig, yeah. And he's like hacking away at it, like with this machete, and the squig's trying to bite its face and all that. But it ends up like having its head cut off by the machete. And it's like, God, this fucking thing's heavy. Well, at least that thing's dead. Oh, it's got a stinger on the tail. A stinger might prove useful if I can use it as like a dagger or something. Yeah, okay, I'll cut that off. Stick it in my pocket. Okay. Right. There's the shaft leading back up. The rock's kind of porous here. I have an idea. He takes a stinger, jams it into the rock, tests it.
Climbing spike.
Yeah, he's like, okay, this works. But I've only got one fucking arm. So I need to make a ladder, but there's more of these things around here. I have an idea. So basically he goes full John Rambo on these squigs. Just like hunting them, just like, stabbing squigs from behind with a machete. And soon enough, he's got enough of them. So basically he's cutting the stingers off and using them as a ladder. So he's like climbing up like,
Okay, that's pretty badass.
It is badass. He's commandeered like the orc's belt, but the belt's too big, so he's like cut that in half just so he can make a makeshift sheath for the machete. Climbs all his way back up the shaft, and he kills the two guards. And the guards are like, "What the fuck? How did the fuck did he survive?" It's like, you know that scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, with John Cleese's character just killing everyone at the wedding. That's basically Yarrick at this point with a machete.
And the Baelai, if it's got some ammo.
No, he hasn't got his Baelai's been removed.
How did they get it out without killing him? Pain boys aren't known for their accuracy in surgery. How did they get it out without killing him?
Guess who else is on the
I know Grosnick's there, but Grosnick's not known for his accuracy.
No, but if Yarrick's telling him to be careful, he'd be like, okay, boss.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
In fairness, some of this is partially explained later on with one additional character, a human character, I might add. But yeah, anyway, I'll get to that when I get to it.
Okay.
So basically, he kills the guards. He goes like, right, fuck it, I'm going to do as much damage as possible. Opens up the door to go into the main corridor. And Ghazghkull's like, ha ha! Well done, Yarrick. Right, throw you into the prison with the rest of the prisoners then. It was quite amusing, though, what you did. But yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, because I remember in the Orc Codex back in the day, it said after a few months of idle torture is kind of what Ghazghkull puts Yarrick through.
So he's in the main holding cell of all the captives, and he sees Colonel Rogers there, and he's like, "Colonel," it's like, "Hello, sir. Yeah, sorry." So yeah, this is all your fucking fault, mate. Even though Yarrick doesn't actually say it, but we all know it's Rogers' fault. Because he didn't check the fucking things properly. You arrogant little posh bastard.
Yarrick, you have no leg to stand on because you've been doing the same thing for the entire novel. Shut up.
Even so. But yeah, Yarrick asks for a status update. And he's basically, he's informed what happens. Like, oh, the orcs take us out to mine, and we're whipped by the overseers. What overseers? Oh yeah, you see that bloke in the cage above us? That human? Yeah, he's our overseer. What? Yeah, he's working with the orcs. What?
Make that make sense.
Basically, the overseers are human prisoners who, in exchange for basically, whipping the other humans into shape, they get extra space in their cage and they get extra food. And they actually get a bed to sleep in, rather than just standing up. They can actually lie down.
And again, this is testament to Ghazghkull's intelligence that he knows how to prey on basic human nature. Well done, Ghazghkull.
Exactly. Well done, Ghazghkull. So Yarrick starts plotting a way to escape. Well, I say escape, to take the fight to the orcs. And he starts giving a rousing speech. So everyone here is like, right, everyone, we're going to kick the orcs' ass and we're just going to find a way to do it, blah, blah, blah. And the orc guards come running in. They grab Yarrick out of the cage and they put the boot in. They kick the ever-living shit out of him.
As you would.
And they throw him back in. And the book makes a point to say, even though he was covered in huge bruises and he's got broken ribs and his face is his eyes swollen shut pretty much, as far as orcs concerned, that's a gentle admonishment.
Well, to be fair,
that's a gentle
orc physiology is a lot stronger than humans. What is a bloody beating to a human is probably a slap on the wrist for an orc.
Basically, yes. So, for the next few days, they're basically scouting out positions, and Yarrick's basically whispering to everyone his plan, and he needs volunteers for it. And the volunteers he ends up getting a data clerk, a pilot, a medic who was basically forced to assist the pain boys with their operations / tortures.
And that's how Yarrick got the eye out.
That's the implication, yes. Roger, of course, and a couple of other guys. And they come up with a plan, basically as a way to distract, okay, what we're going to do, we've learned that there is an Arvis lighter in the hangar, which used to belong to the pilot, because he was basically just, an unlucky person who just got caught in the wrong place, wrong time.
Yep.
So the plan is to make their way for that, but they can't escape in just that, so the plan is to use that to launch an attack on the central temple that's in the Space Hulk. He's got this massive orc head structure, they assume that's the temple, whatever. So what they end up doing, they end up convincing the Overseer to work with them, because the Overseer is convinced he's actually doing the Emperor's duty. Basically, he's doing his best to keep everyone else alive by making sure they're working to the orc standards. He's doing his best to make sure everyone's staying alive, and anyone who can't stay alive, he gives the Emperor's mercy to, essentially. So he thinks he's doing the right thing.
That makes sense.
So they convince him to help as well. So during one of the work shifts, the Overseer's whipping the workers. The orcs don't think much of it, but what he's actually doing is basically herding them to a specific location. Towards an orc guard who's sleepy or whatever. And then at the right moment, the Overseer wraps the whip around the orc's neck. The orc's what the fuck's going on? And one of the other slaves grabs the shock prod that the orc had, and then strikes a Promethean pipe with it. That's full of cracks and all that. Spark plus, oil. Big boom. Yeah. And that Promethean pipe ends up leading towards like an ammunition store. So that cooks off.
Boom.
Yeah. All confusion, like, right, go for it, lads. Go, 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 go. And Yarrick's group is basically running. Most of the human captives end up getting caught and ran back up into their slave pens. But Yarrick and his group end up escaping. They're making their way through these corridors and the ventilation shafts and all that, blah, blah, blah. And they eventually make their way to the hangar where the Arvis Lighter is. Okay, we found the Arvis Lighter. They can hear orcs above in some gantries and some scaffolding, basically like doing some welding on some other bits and pieces and all that. Mech boys or spanners, presumably. But they sneak their way over towards the Arvis Lighter, and they realise, oh shit, one of the engines has basically been half cannibalised. That thing's not going to fly.
Yeah, that's not much use.
No. But they have an idea. They're going to use that as a distraction so the rest of them can make their way to the temple. Because the Daedalus knows where the temple is, because of the power of autism. Literally, that's why it's described as in the book.
Right.
But yeah, the pilot, there's no use for him anymore, so what he does, he sprints over the hangar. The other orc seer's like, what the fuck? Okay, shoot, bang, bang. Takes a bullet and takes a slug to the leg, but he ends up like hobbling along, like hopping on. He gets into the Arvis lander. He activates the engines. Engines cook off because obviously like one of the engines is fucked, so that catches fire. It's basically spinning around like a big circle as it's trying to take off. What weapons it does have attached to it, whether they were attached originally or the orcs added them to it, no, probably the orcs added to him, no, the orcs. Basically starts unloading everything it can, every which way it can. Boom, 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 laser, 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 missile, missile, missile.
Why not?
Why not? Causes as much destruction as possible, causes as big a distraction as possible, and allows for Yarrick's group to basically sprint their way past, in towards the main temple area.
Good.
And as they're making their way towards the temple, they hear orcs coming up behind them. So two of the regular guardsmen, they stay behind. They've looted some weapons from the orcs nearby, like from the nearby armory that had some captured Imperial weapons. So they got things like las pistols and stuff like that. Why orcs would keep the las pistols, I don't know, because they're too quiet for orky tastes. But hey,
grots, I guess. Give the grots something to do to make the grots feel good. Not
as
that
if
the
they're
orcs.
gonna kill-
I know
as
the
if
orcs.
they give a shot.
Okay, I'll put that another way. Maybe the grots nicked them and kept them in a little hidey corner for their own amusement.
Maybe they did. Who knows? But yeah, as this is happening, Roger's starting to go more and more insane. He's thinking like, well, not insane. He's basically thinking like, this Yarrick's, he's not the man we think he is. He's a callous, he's an evil man, he's an insane man. He's sacrificing all our lives, and he doesn't care. Like, he sacrificed all of our lives on Golgotha, and he doesn't care. It's all for his personal vendetta against Ghazghkull. Why the hell are we still following him? Then Yarrick gives a speech, and it's like, God, I love this man. Kind of thing. He's basically like being like Paul Heyman at this point. He sells snow to an Eskimo type thing. They see the entrance to the temple, and it's guarded by a bunch of orcs, including a big knob. And so two of the number, the two fastest, and the medic. Oh, by the way, I should point out, the medic, while everyone else, grabbed like las pistols or auto guns, the medic just picked up a massive eviscerator. It's like, because fuck it.
As you do.
The whole thing is like, oh, because, she was working with the pain boy, she's basically going to turn that, attitude against them, essentially. I can see that.
Yep.
But yeah, they sprint across the open area, like open ground, and the orcs just see them as like, the fuck's this? Look at these two humans running. Oh, one of them just shot me. Right, come here, you little bastard. kind of thing. And most of the orcs chase after them, to which Yarrick, the Overseer, and Roger prepared to attack, except Roger goes, nah, fuck this, and he sprints back the other way. So, I'm going to surrender myself to the orcs, and they'll show me mercy and keep me as a slave, because fuck this.
Yeah.
So Yarrick and the Overseer end up, killing the last few orcs that were there, and they make their way towards the temple area. There's an elevator, but the elevator's in use. Like, right, the stairs, we'll get the stairs. But before we do, let's loot the bodies. Stick bombs. These can be useful. Let's take the stick bombs.
Yeah, I mean, they are just Tilan Granada at the end of the day. Why not?
Exactly. So they're making their way up the stairs. It's like, right, we're nearly there. The elevator's come up. It's opening. Oh shit, there's a bunch of orcs. I have an idea. What? Stick bomb into the elevator. Or get a few shots off. What's that? Oh, fudge, a bomb!
Bang.
Elevator blows up, yeah. But also blows out a massive chunk of the floor. Yarrick basically grabs onto the edge of the platform that's basically collapsing, and then the Overseer catches onto his leg as he's falling. It's like, yeah, I've only got one bloody... I can't hold us both, mate.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
If you can climb up, if you can use me to climb up, you can pull me up. And the other says, like, I won't be able to do it. Give him hell, Yarrick. And he just lets go and falls to his death. It's like, you heroic bastard.
Heroic slash, I don't know.
Yeah. So Yarrick pulls himself up, and he's like, right, okay, I'm not going to fall off. And his body's literally saying, can I sleep now? No, sleep when you're dead. So he makes his way into the main area of the temple, except it's not a temple. It's a cockpit. It's the bridge. It's the bridge of the Space Hulk. And it's like, okay, there's no one here. Makes sense. If you're docked, there's nothing for you to do on the bridge. Orcs are going to hate that. And you notice that you can see out from the main windows of the bridge that each part of the Space Hulk is like a whole bunch of spaceships, welded into the core of the asteroid. Like it's like not a natural melding of ships like with most space. It's like an artificial Space Hulk in essence. It's like a man-made Space Hulk, or Orc-made rather.
Right.
And he sees like hundreds of consoles with like just massive big red buttons on them because Orc consoles like one button, on and off switches basically. And he got some ideas like, right, since these are all separate ships welded into the Space Hulk, if I activate every single ship at once, I could probably rip the asteroid apart. Yeah.
I've heard stupider ideas.
Okay, let's give this a go. Button, 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 button. Like, alarm klaxons are blaring, like, the ground's shaking, the bridge door opens, it's Ghazghkull and a few other orcs. He basically reaches out to grab Yarrick, but the ground splits open in front of Yarrick, and Yarrick falls down, and Ghazghkull's like, ah, shaking his fist angrily. Yarrick falls unconscious.
Again.
He wakes up.
Again.
Well, it's a huge... Again. He wakes up. He's got the Bale Eye back. He's got his Power Claw back. It's like, everything's back to normal. Everything's put in place properly. Run a diagnostic on my eye. No, everything's fine. I guess I got rescued. He looks around. He's in an abattoir. He's still on the Space Hulk. He's like, the fuck? He's looking around confused. Gets off the gurney, or whatever, the surgical table.
Mm-hmm.
Opens the door, and there's like parade columns of orcs cheering him, going like, Yarrick, Yarrick, and just cheering him. It's like, the fuck is going on? And he's just walking.
I'm assuming he's delusional at this point.
No, he's not. He's not. But before I carry any further, let's briefly touch on what happened to Rog. As Roger was running, he ran away. He accidentally ran into a group of orcs. He was like, oh fuck, by accident. And instead of surrendering himself like he was planning to, instinct took over and he shot one. And the orc didn't like that, so they knocked him the fuck out and they dragged him towards Ghazghkull. And Ghazghkull looked at Roger, it's like, nah, don't want him. And then Roger's like, wait. I can give you Yarrick. And Ghazghkull's like, Yarrick, you say? Walks up to him and just studies him a bit more. And Roger's like, does this orc understand what I'm saying? Yarrick, he tucks his arm under his elbow to imitate, one arm. And Ghazghkull finds that hilarious. Like, yeah, I like that. And he whispers something to another orc. And Roger's like, I don't know what he's saying, but I can make out some word. He's saying sounds like Grotznik? Is that a good thing?
Not a good thing.
No, a few minutes later, Grotznik just saunters up, just pushing a few orcs out of the way. And Ghazghkull says something to him. And Grotznik's like, oh, this is going to be fun. Grabs him, drags him off, and Roger's screaming. His screaming does not stop. But anyway, back to Yarrick. He's walking through this, parade column of orcs who are all cheering for him and chanting his name. And he's led to a hangar where there's like a Valkyrie, just ready, fueled and prepped for him, waiting for him. And Ghazghkull's just standing next to it. And basically, gives him a slap on the shoulder and like, good fight, Yarrick. Let's do it again on Armageddon, shall we? See you next time.
I knew Ghazghkull let him go, but that's quite funny.
And he said that in perfect high Gothic.
Oh, it wasn't even in guttural Orcish. It was proper. No,
it was properly fluent high Gothic.
Well,
so Yarrick gets onto the Valkyrie. He's like, right, okay, I'm going to have to try and fly this thing. Oh no, there's a pilot provided for me. It's Roger. He's been hardwired into the Valkyrie and turned into a fully conscious servitor.
Oh, that's horrible.
Like, his mouth's perpetually wrenched open, like in a permanent screen. His chest is ripped open, like a bunch of wires plugged into his organs and stuff. His hands fused with the keyboard, the joystick and all that, and the command console and all that.
Jesus Christ, Grotznick.
And Yarrick's like, you know what, Roger? After the shit you pulled, I'm keeping you like that. Take us home. The end.
That's very, 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 very good.
It was a really good book.
Remind me who the author was?
David Annandale.
That makes sense.
Seriously, anyone who's not read this book, I recommend you do it. It's really good. It's a really fun book. It's probably one of the most fun books I've read in a good long while. It's just it goes full-blown 80s action movie at times, with Yarrick turning into Rambo.
Yeah.
It's great.
Just from listening to it, it's one of them of it knows it's completely over the top in what it's been. Basically, it was given the 4th edition or 3rd edition Orc Codex and told, Ghazghkull tortures Yarrick for a bit after beating him on Golgotha and then lets him go. And taking that sentence and turning it into a book, knowing that the absolute levels of nonsense required for that to happen, you know what? Fair play to David Annandale for running with that and managing to toe the line between bombastic, explicable bullshit and also badassery. You have to suspend your disbelief a little bit about the amount of crap Yarrick survives, but also it's Yarrick, so you do that anyway. And everything else just kind of flows. So, well done. For the record, I googled up Gunheads. That is a novel about the rescue operation to retrieve the Fortress of Arrogance from Golgotha in an attempt to morale boost for Armageddon 3.
Right, okay.
Fair enough. It's adjacent but not connected to this story in any way whatsoever.
But yeah, seriously, if you get a chance, check out James of Golgotha. It's a really good novella. It's really good.
It sounds it, and thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, carry on.
I've never got round to carrying on with Flesh and Steel. It's sat there, and it's one of those where I'm in a position of, I'm sure the next time I pick it up, I will really enjoy it, but I need to pick it up again and find the time to pick it up again. And once I do, I will get through it really well, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it. It's just finding the time to do that. So yeah.
Fair enough. Right. Any questions this week? We did questions for the last 2 episodes prior, just to let you know.
Yeah, I'm only looking at the last episode. There is 2.
Okay, let's hear 'em.
So, if the homunculi are truly indisputable masters of biology, to the point that they can resurrect someone from death using a handful of ashes, could they, if they had the desire to do so, create beings of comparable power and complexity to things like Custodes or Primarchs?
Yes. And funny enough, around the time of 8th edition, when 8th edition first came out, there was actually a major plot point in one of the little timeline segments. It was either the Drukhari Codex or the Deathwatch Codex, where they said, a homunculus managed to get hold of some Primarchs Marines and were doing experiments on them, and then the Deathwatch came in and just destroyed all the samples. And there was also a thing in, there was a bunch of Custodes being kidnapped by the Drukhari. That's what I was also mentioned, the Tortured Throne, I think it was called.
Right.
Presumably they were captured in order to do experiments on, in order to make their own equivalents or something to that effect. So yeah, I can imagine they can.
Yeah, they it was always never a matter of can they, it's a matter of do they want to. Because the homunculi can do literally anything. Pretty much that falls within the realms of fleshcraft and biology. They can make a living, walking tower of flesh. They can do whatever the hell they want. They just have to want to.
In fairness, the Tower of Flesh was mainly Fabius Bile at that time.
Well, no, they built it. Fabius Bile just held it together, as I understand it.
Regardless, he was involved.
He was involved, yeah. I'm not saying that, he didn't have a role to play, but it was the homunculi's idea, and they did probably 80% to 90% of the work, and Fabius Bile just put the last piece into the puzzle. So
I've got the glue, lads.
Basically, yeah.
Gorilla glue.
So it's just, it was never a case of can the homunculi do it? It's do the homunculi want to bother? Was always going to be the case. Mind you, I know you guys didn't talk about the Custodes law change, so, and I'm not going to go into it here because, it is what it is and who cares. But, they're quite happy to play fast and loose with what the Custodes can do. People being made on Custodes level these days is probably not going to be that far off.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all on that one. Where's it gone? With Rogel Dawn said to have died or disappeared on a traitor warship, would his return end up being something more like a few minutes, then back out again? So, time works weird in the warp. What if Dawn doesn't disappear for 10,000 years, he disappears for more like 10 minutes in his world?
Well, so, he disappears and only 10 minutes have passed as far as he's concerned.
Yes.
So basically the same thing as what happened with Guilliman, essentially.
But Guilliman, the time skip is because he died and then sat out history.
Yeah, I know, but so as far as Guilliman's concerned, it's only been 10 minutes, since, it was M31 and now it's M40. It was what the fuck happened?
But Guilliman will have known that he was fatally stabbed by Fulgrim before he lost consciousness. He will have known that I'm either dying. He assumed he was dying, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So for him, waking up again is okay, that's just how long it took me to heal up. Okay, this is weird, and I don't really like the world I now live in, but I got here by logic. He can theoretical practical his way through how he got here. Whereas
he can, yes.
Dawn, who is still butchering traitors for the next 5 to 10 hours, and then the ship translates back and it's 11,000 years later, that's a different level of culture shock. And I think that would be very interesting played out against the practical of Guilliman, the complete, still all the red raw wounds of the Scouring, still in fight mode, still angry Dawn, played off against, this is weird, but I'll just roll with it, Guilliman, and, oh, I woke up from my nap and now I'm here, Lion. That's an interesting place if you're going to do Dawn, I think that's an interesting place to take him, because I've been fighting for 11,000 years and I've somehow not taken any corruption in the process is not happening.
Do you know what the funny thing is? According, the 6th edition Sentinels of Terror Imperial Fist Codex.
I know it, yes.
Yeah. It outright states that Dawn's dead.
I know, he is Schrodinger's Primarch, we know.
Yeah. He's dead, alive, missing, found, all at the same time. So, to be honest, I don't want Dawn to come back purely on the basis he's a mess as it is. And plus, there are far more interesting Primarchs you could bring into the modern setting.
Yeah, Korax and Russ come to mind.
I was going to say Jagatai, personally.
Well, Jagatai too.
Because let's be honest, the White Scars do need a lot more love.
Yeah, I think in terms of stories you can tell if you bring back a loyalist Primarch, Russ is only interesting if he goes Wolfen. Only.
Dawn is only interesting if he goes full-blown TTS.
Probably. Korax, we know, has gone mental, so that could be interesting. And Jagatai, well, it's the web way, so God's only knows.
But, yeah.
And in terms of questions, that's it. There's that's literally it.
Fair enough. Well, on that note, I think we should call it there for this episode. But just to let everyone know, next episode 200, we'll see the return of Quizcastus.
Yeah, right. So let's just, because this...
I'm not telling you that. I'm not giving you answers.
I'm not asking for answers. But it's just one of them of 200. We're not going to get the time to do this in the actual Quizcastus, and we've got time here. So, can we just take a second and reflect on this 8 years of this program while we've got time? Because we're not going to get time next episode.
It is a monumental milestone. It really is.
Yeah, it was September 2016, and literally you and I had spoken to each other once, which was when you sat down with me for the Is the Emperor a Chaos God theory video, which was the video that blew my channel up in the first place.
Oh.
And like that one, plus then getting the Legion series underway after that with my lore videos, that is what made my channel, alongside obviously working with you guys on Adeptus Podcastus. But 8 years. Like, I think about my students, and I think that the students who are watching this program, who are, let's say, in 6th form, were still in primary school when we started. The students, if they're in the earliest years of Warhammer Club, will have only just gone to school when this program started.
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
It really is. And think about how much crap we've seen. What Warhammer itself has been through. We've seen Age of Sigmar was a thing, and we were in the doldrums of going into 7th edition. We'd just gone into 7th edition Warhammer 40k. AOS was still dog shit because it was AOS 1. There was no lore, there was no sense, there was no nothing. Heresy was a thing. We were still getting new Primarch minis. Fantasy was dead and buried. Necromunda was barely a thing. Warcry wasn't a thing. Kill Team, I don't think, was a thing. Titanicus wasn't a thing. Blood Bowl was barely a thing. I think Battlefleet Gothic hadn't even come back yet. Wait,
it still hasn't now, has it?
Oh yeah, sorry. Whoops. Yeah, sorry.
Jumping the gun a bit, Neve.
Video games and tabletops getting crossed over. The epic scale, but the epic scale stuff hadn't come back yet. Like Titanicus wasn't a thing, Aeronautica wasn't a thing, etc. Like, just consider where we were as a hobby 8 years ago. Like, Guilliman wasn't back.
Yeah, 3 editions ago we started.
Yeah. Like, that's crazy. And I think, much as the two of us have sat through the whole thing, and minus the odd one here and there due to family events, illness, technical difficulties, etc., we owe a debt of thanks to a lot of people. Obviously, Alexis, who was with us as a permanent host for the first 50-ish. Yeah, just up to about, I think it was episode 45, 47. But has been back on many times since. Because that show worked because there were 3 very different voices. There was your fluffy, optimist, casual voice. There was you, who was your lore and theory and stuff and history guy. And then Alexis, who played comp and had a lot of interests outside of comp as well. And that show worked because the 3 of us bounced off each other. And the first episode or episodes that had the constant music playing in the background. It was only the one episode. Just the pilot, yeah. That had dun 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 in the background of the entire episode. And then I couldn't be asked to edit it into my episode when we went on rotation, so I didn't put it in. And then no one else could be asked to put it back in after that.
Yeah.
And all the artists who've contributed, primarily Sleepy, who's done the art since, like, I don't think, did Sleepy do the original chibi art for the first episodes?
No, the chibi art was, I think that was Nostalgia who did that.
Yeah, and then we got to about episode, 6, 4, and we went over to Sleepy with the panel art, or maybe like 10, and have stuck with variations on their work ever since.
I think the original panel art was by someone else, actually.
Was it not Sleepy?
The original panel art, I think, was someone else.
Right.
Let me just double check. Let me just go into the YouTube studio for a moment. I don't know why I'm going to this accent. I'll apologize and all that. Last page. Right. Because I'm pretty sure we'd have put in the... the original artwork was by Maverick Andre.
Who also has gone on to create
the intro.
A couple of different intro sequences. Yeah. As well as, we cannot forget the comedy skits. What were they called? Animaticus, that was it. And we've been hoping and praying they would ever come back, and they never did. But
no.
Thank you to... they were genuinely the highlight of the week, sometimes, particularly on an off week for Podcastus, where we just sit and watch the clips of Angron runs into battle, or Remleiz' demon voice, or move the plot. Okay, no, not like that.
Let's not forget the best one of all. Hey, surprise! It's
It's
Korax.
Yeah. Hashtag the warp did it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Was the one hashtag hive ship
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. Yeah, that was a thing. I mean, for me, I've transitioned since we started the program. Yeah. I'm a completely different person. I've moved.
Literally.
Yeah, I've been to France. I've moved to a different part of England. I've gone from being a snotty-nosed university student to being a full-blown qualified teacher who runs a Warhammer club. And all of that has happened. I mean, it feels like your life's just kind of sat there ticking along and nothing seems to have changed apart from you've got more and more pain in your back. But
and like heart issues and respiratory issues, but yes.
Well, yeah. But no, it's just so weird to think. And we also owe a great debt of thanks to the various guests, whether they've been on once or 30 times. Like, some of the original guests we had, like, I think was Thunder the first guest, episode 4? I think was Thunder.
Yeah, I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, we had
It was
Thunder.
either Thunder or Dr. White. It was one of those two.
I think, yeah, it was White first, and then Thunder was episode 7, I think. And various other people in the early days who took a chance on us. Some of them were quite big YouTubers in the hobby community who took a chance on us and who wouldn't know people like me, especially. And then you've got some of the bigger guests we've had on, like the Black Library episodes, Gav Thorpe, Josh Reynolds, David Geimer, Aaron Dembski-Bowden, for fuck's sake, Sarah Corkwell, and others.
Nate Crowley.
Yeah, Nate Crowley. The amount of... and then you've got people like Duncan Rhodes have been on the show. We've had Peachy on the show. Granted, they had to leave Games Workshop to do that, but...
Suggs.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the absolutely craziness of the fact that up until about a week and a half ago, reigning All Elite Wrestling World Champion Samoa Goddamn Joe has been on this show.
Markiplier.
Yeah, that was my next one. Actual literal Markiplier has been on this show. A fact that baffles the mind of everyone I tell it to.
Oh yeah, because funny enough, I actually had a comment on the episode the other week saying like, "Oh my god, my physics teacher spoke to Markiplier."
Yeah, you showed me that.
Yeah.
Which was like, how on earth did that happen? Because it is such a humble brag of like, Miss, you got a YouTube channel? Yes, I do. I spoke to Markiplier on my podcast. What? And then suddenly go, who's Markiplier? And I'm like, oh my god, you child. How do you not know who Markiplier is?
In fairness, like we're at that point in the internet where you've got generations of people who are not going to know who some of these internet celebrities are. Like, because you know when like Matt Pat's retired, there's going to be like an entire generation of kids who don't know who Matt Pat is.
There'll be an entire generation of kids now who probably don't know who PewDiePie is.
That's true.
Like, I know he's still around and still posting, but...
Yeah, but kids these days are just focused on Skibidi Toilet or whatever the fuck it is these days.
Oh.
I don't even know what it is. I just keep hearing Skibidi Toilet. It's like, okay, you're obsessed with a toilet. Well, okay, sure.
Yeah,
I have no idea what it is.
I have no idea either, but every time I hear it, I think I lose at least 5 brain cells every time. And it does my head in. But I can't help that one. And just thinking about, as well, I think the biggest thank you has to go to everybody who has watched these videos, whether you've watched from episode 1 and been with us from the get, or whether you joined us after a certain guest came on. Maybe you joined us when Alpha joined us for the first time because TTS, or when we got a certain author on, or we got Markiplier on and we crossed into the mainstream for 5 minutes. Whenever you joined us, thank you for the literal years of your life you have spent watching us. Because 400 hours of podcast, like, if you started watching Adeptus Podcastus from the start today and watched it non-stop, I mean non-stop, you didn't sleep, then you would be watching us for about... Oh, no, actually, the best one I had is a student of mine was telling me that they'd racked up like 400 hours on Overwatch or on Valorant or something. And I went, you realise that at that time you could have watched the entire back catalogue of Adeptus Podcastus? And they were like, oh my God, that's how long that was. And they were like, yeah, that's just crazy that so much of our life, like I was only blooming, I was 20. I was 20 when I started this program. I've been doing this program now for a quarter of my life.
Jesus.
Which, I've been a hobbyist since I was 12 years old, but I've been podcasting for the same length of time as when I started the hobby to when I started podcasting. Which, that's half my time in the hobby has been spent doing this.
That's insane.
It is utterly insane. And it's the one thing that has kept me in the hobby, because throughout the years, I've had to step forward and step back from the hobby because of travel or exams or work, and then the pandemic, I was able to go crazy because I didn't have anywhere to be. And then I had to step back again because I had to start working, and then everything else. Like, life is just crazy. And through it all, there has been Adeptus Podcastus.
Mm.
And maybe I'm just being sentimental because I know that realistically, I don't know how long we can keep this format going with my life commitments. We're doing every 2 weeks is going to be viable. I don't know if it's because it's a larger proportion of my life and YouTube career. I don't know, but I look back on this program and I just think, I actually did that. How and why, and how is it possible that I actually did that?
It's something you should be proud of regardless.
As should you. Like, you didn't have to take a chance on two tiny YouTubers who barely had any... I don't even think I had... I think maybe I had 1,000 subs. Maybe. I don't actually remember how many subs I actually had when Adeptus Podcastus started. I'm going to go and check now because I'm curious. What is the sub special before the first episode of Podcastus? And I'm going to be scrolling for a very long time, but I don't care. What was it? What was I at 8 years ago when you took a shot on me and we made that first video together? I'm in France, so I'm nearly there. There's 8th edition video. Right, I'm back at like episode 9, episode... God, do you remember we used to make trailers?
Mm.
We actually used to make trailers to promote the video on each other's channels to make sure that everyone found it.
God, that was a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh no, I was on a little bit more than I thought because it was about 4K. 3K. Because I was on... So when Podcastus was announced, I was on 2,000 and something. And then a couple of weeks after that, I've got 3,000 subs. And then by the time I get to episode 4 of the podcast, I'm at 4,000 subs.
There you go.
And then by the time we get to episode 6, I'm at 5,000 subs. And then when did I get to 10,000? 10,000 was this when I was streaming. My thoughts on Magnus the Red. I remember where I was when the Magnus the Red model came out. I don't remember where I was when I saw it for the first time. 10K, 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 10K. Where is 10K? 10K was at episode 24.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that in the space of a year of podcast, I went from less than 3,000 to 10,000. And that's, admittedly, I was doing really consistent lore content, but that is primarily down to having the exposure of the podcast as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a bit crazy. It is really, really crazy, and I cannot thank you the individual, enough for the difference you made to the path of my career, and by extension my life, because I probably would have given up on YouTube by now a long time ago if I didn't have this to do. So, thank you.
In which case, you're most welcome. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we shall call it there for the episode. So, thank you very much to everyone who tuned in for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And this has been a rather sentimental Neve from Tactica Imperialis. Oh, and by the way, Oculus, get your ass here. I want my belt back.
Just don't screw it up on the towel question this time. But anyway,
yes, I'm going and doing my revision. I'm not dropping this belt. If I'm not continuing this format properly, I am going out champion. Fuck off. My belt, my show. Come on then.
I'll just say this. There's going to be a few new games, and I know one of them, the audience is going to absolutely love, but the players are going to hate. Yeah, we'll announce the card, yes. So, obviously we're going to have Oculus defending his belt, Neve as the Batista with the infinite cheat code for title shots. We were supposed to have Alpha Busa, but unfortunately he had to cancel, so Narina will be filling in for him. And filling in the fourth slot will be Thunder Psyker.
Yeah, we did. I will just admit, we tried to get Markiplier, but
we tried.
We tried.
We tried. That's what you can ask for. But regardless, the one game you guys are going to hate, the audience is going to absolutely adore.
Bring it on.
Anyway, we'll see you all for episode 200. Bye-bye.